Hi, I'm Cindy Bertram. Thanks for joining me today on Good Ship Happens. Yes, we've had a lot of really wonderful things coming up this week. As mentioned before, Alaska season is shorter, but starts usually May, goes through September. And what came up this week is for the first time, Celebrity Cruises first Edge class ship is sailing in Alaska. And on May 17th, which is today, she's embarking guests today from Port of Seattle. And this is a 7-night Dawes Glacier itinerary that includes stops at Juneau, Ketchikan, and Skyway. I've been to all those beautiful locations. I want to go back there so bad, but just it's wonderful, okay? And Edge class is their newest class of ship, but once again, Alaska is a very short season, but it's gorgeous. You can see glaciers calving. They have babies. Yes, they calf. Okay, and you can see beautiful places, history there too, which is great. I love Skagway myself. Beautiful and just beautiful stops you can go to too. But like I said, today is when Celebrity Cruises, their Celebrity Edge, just debuted her Alaska season, and guests were able to embark on from Port Seattle, which is great. When I sailed to Alaska myself a long time ago, I sailed out of Port Vancouver. But the thing is, Seattle's close, which is great. So beautiful ways to get there. And once again, just it's really, I think, a great immersive experience too. Because once again, too, with Celebrity Cruises, they've got their magic carpet. And this is actually, it goes up and down, but it's a great way for people to enjoy Alaska's glaciers in a new way. Because once again, it's got their drop down windows. You can really see the boundaries, beautiful boundaries, great areas too. They've also got different things that they're doing as far as port communities across Alaska. And it's the recent grand opening of the nearly 2-mile Ketchikan Salmon Walk. And also, they've got local partnerships too with Skagway Spirits, Seafood Production Cooperative, and the Alaskan Specialty Seafood, which is great too. Something else as far as a commitment to Sitka Sound Science Center and involves sciences in the schools of program where local scientists work actually with students in K through 12 classrooms. And with this program, really benefited 960 students from 9 different schools last year with Royal Caribbean's group support, which is great too. So once again, it's just great because once again, um, just great place to go to as a short season. But once again, you've got options if you want to sail on a cruise from either Seattle, Port Seattle, or go up to Canada, Vancouver, which is beautiful too. But definitely keep that in mind because it's a short season, and it just started actually today with Celebrity Cruises and their Celebrity Edge ship. So definitely keep it in mind because it's a great place to go to too. You can see wildlife, salmon. I saw salmon. I saw whales the first night. Glaciers were gorgeous and just beautiful things. There was a Brightline train, and it took you up, I think, 1,000 feet on a train ride up and back, which is great too. So definitely keep that in mind because it's really a beautiful place to go to. Plus, I want to go back there too. Okay. Something that came up too is, we had that tragic accident that occurred with Baltimore. Okay, and once again, Baltimore. Remember, they had that. There was that collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge, and it occurred. I think there's a company that actually had their ship sailing. There wasn't a cruise ship. I think it was a container shipping company. But what happened? That happened on March 26th, and that resulted in the collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge, and it halted all traffic into Baltimore Harbor. But what they mentioned, just got the news today, is I know Carnival Pride does expect to resume sailing from Baltimore on May 26th, and then they'll continue their year-round home port schedule too, which is great. And the Carnival Pride is expected to arrive in Baltimore on May 26th, following a week-long cruise from Norfolk. And then the ship's next sailing will be a 14-day Carnival Journeys cruise to Greenland, and that will stay a round trip from Baltimore. And they're going to continue to its previously planned sailings, currently scheduled into spring of 2026. Also, I know that today it mentioned that Royal Caribbean is going to also be resuming sailing from Baltimore. And Vision of the Seas is going to actually be sailing on a 5-night itinerary as planned on Saturday, May 25th. And after completing its previously scheduled dry dock in the Bahamas. So we've got 2 ships that are going to be sailing out of Baltimore, which is great. May 26th and May 27th. So that's really good news too. So, and just another way to see beautiful places too. Something else that came up too is I've talked a lot about river cruises, and with river cruises we see a lot of different river cruise lines. Been around for a long time. One I absolutely love to death and I've been able to sail them yet is AMA Waterways. But with the river cruising, I just ran across something that said that really river cruising is the smartest way to vacation in 2024. Okay, and once again, it's a great way to really see the beautiful areas of Europe. And as mentioned, with the river cruises that sail in Europe, what they do is usually you get in there a day before, you can relax a little bit too, and arrive in time for the next day to sail out. Plus, once again, the river cruises, your ship is actually your floating hotel, so to speak, which is great. And once again, we see a lot of new lines out there too. It's really dramatically different than it was even 5, 10, 20 years ago. We have new river cruise lines that really stepped up with state-of-the-art ships too, which is great too. And one thing that came up too earlier is American Society of Travel Advisors actually had their 3rd River Cruise Expo, which featured 12 ships from 9 different river cruise lines from Amsterdam earlier this year. And as far as the new and updated ships set on the rivers too, in 2025, AMA Waterways has been sailing there for years. But also, what they're doing is AMA Waterways, which is fantastic river cruise line too. They've been around over 22 years. They're actually going to be sailing 2 of the ships, the AMA Magdalena and the AMA Melodia, on the Magdalena River in Colombia in 2025. And then also the Amelia is debuting its sailing on the Nile River this year. In the meantime, also the AMA Sintra is going to be sailing Portugal's Douro River in 2025, joining the new Avalon Alegria from Avalon Waterways. And it's just christened in late March this year. And also Riviera River Cruises too does do sailings out of different areas in Europe too, which is great. And of course, another new ships, the Amadeus Nova from Amadeus River Cruises. They've got their SS Elizabeth sailing in 2025. They've got their SS Emily in 2026. And then I know that the Uniworld Boutique River Cruises also debuted their SS Victoria this year, earlier. And then, of course, one of the newer ones is the Riverside Luxury Cruises. And what they did was they launched their first new ship during the ASTA conference last year, okay? So it's great to know about these two. And also some things coming up too is, although they're not really introducing new ships, you've got sister brands, Unique Luxury Cruises and Tours, Emerald Cruises. What they're doing is they're refreshing 18 of their 22 existing ships, which is great too. So once again, if you're thinking about a great way to really experience Europe in new ways and have your floating hotel take you different places, which is great, plus with the river cruise lines too that sail over in Europe, other places too, things are all included, which is great. They usually have at least one free shore excursion where you get off, and different things as far as entertainment. So definitely keep that in mind if you're looking for a different way to maybe visit Europe this year too. And as previous mentioned too, I know that some river cruise lines are not going to be sailing areas that would actually be close to Paris due to the Paris Olympics coming out this July. But once again, they're just wanting to be very, very careful about that too, so their clients get a good experience. Not that Olympics will be bad, but what they're doing is they're just carefully not including cruises that would actually call on Paris or close to Paris too. Something else that's really exciting news that just came up too this week, AMA Waterways, and what they did was they've got an official opening of their new office in Sydney, which is great. And Gary Murphy, who was one of the co-owners, his father started Waterways with the two other co-owners. He actually traveled from Calabasas, California, to do a ribbon cutting at their site. And like I said, it's actually going to be in Sydney, which is great too. So another way to really, really kind of showcase river cruises too, which is great. And they're wonderful cruises. And once again, too, I know that you've got, Unwater's been around for over 2 decades, over 20 years, but they just launched in the Australian and New Zealand markets. And what they're doing too is they're just really, really growing their brand. But once again, they do beautiful things too, and continue to grow in very, very great ways too. Something else is different milestones. One thing that came up too is, as I mentioned before, cruise lines are really expanding the ports that they sail out of in the U.S. Okay, the cruise industry officially started with Port Miami years and years ago, over 50 years ago, Port Miami. Then they expanded into sailing out of Port Everglades, which is in Fort Lauderdale. And then, of course, another was Port Canaveral, which is about a little over an hour, maybe hour and a half away from Orlando. And then, of course, we've seen more cruise lines sail out of Tampa. New York City is another one that's growing. Baltimore. And also, something else came up, too, is Galveston, Texas. Yes. And it's just another new wonderful milestone. Carnival Cruise Lines just yesterday, which was actually May 16th, celebrated. They just solidified their position as a market leader in Galveston, Texas, and they're the first cruise operator that actually embarked 10 million guests from the port of Galveston, which is great. Just a wonderful way to really, really kind of celebrate their doing too. And Christine Duffy, the president of Carnival, mentioned this is an achievement that speaks to the success of our long-standing partnership with the port and also greater Galveston community. And she said, we're so grateful to our guests who sailed with us from Galveston over the past 2 decades, yes, 2 decades, but also continue to grow the popularity of this home port. And like I said, to really celebrate their 10 millionth guest milestone really follows the expansion that Carnival's been doing as far as offering an introduction to the cruise line's new flagship, the Carnival Jubilee. And also, it was the first new cruise ship to actually be christened in Galveston, Texas. And then this expansion continues when the Carnival Miracle will begin sailing from Galveston in October. And that completes their 4-ship deployment strategy. And like I said, by the end of this year, Carnival's guest capacity in Galveston was going to, I think, increase by 20% compared to last year, which is great too. So once again, Carnival first launched their year-round cruise program from Galveston back in 2000. Yes, I really wasn't aware of that. But in 2000, they started offering some sailings from Galveston, and they've continued to be a leading cruise operator, sailing year-round from that port. And of course, their ships offer different kind of diverse itineraries and schedules from Galveston, dozens of options available for the guests to really experience, and starting and even into 2026 spring, with popular destinations, of course, that include the Caribbean and the Bahamas. So definitely a good way to kind of celebrate a wonderful milestone, 10 million guests sailing now from Port Galveston, which is great, by Carnival Cruise Lines. That's fantastic too. And something else that came up too is with Celebrity Cruises, their Celebrity Apex, they just mentioned, just made its Southampton home port debut, which is great. And that's really wonderful too, because once again, the Apex, which is one of their newer ships, is setting sail. She actually did her debut on May 15th, earlier this week, season from Southampton. And Celebrity Apex is the first ship in this Revolutionary Edge series, which is going to be calling the United Kingdom home port. And the ship kicked off her first European season from Southampton with an 8-night Norwegian Fjords cruise. And also Celebrity Apex we'll call on Belgium, which is also known as the Bougie, I think it's pronounced Bougie, Belgium, also known as the Venice of the North, where travelers can really stroll around along the canals and this romantic cobblestone alleys. Also in Norway, the beautiful area called, I think it's pronounced Galranger Fjord, where actually waterfalls cascade down into a deep, deep, deep blue water, and snow-capped mountains tower above the ship. Also Kristianstad, Norway, which is also known sometimes as a summer city with really, really beautiful sandy beaches, world-class shopping, and just a cultural scene too. And then Celebrity Apex, which is the second ship in their innovative series. Edge-class ships is a way to really have guests really enjoy the world in different ways too. And as mentioned, bringing one of their most innovative ships, Celebrity Apex, to Southampton really provides guests with the opportunity to really sail in style directly in the United Kingdom, which is great. So it's a really exciting time for them too. As far as their itineraries, these cover destinations from Northern Europe to the Canary Islands, and the Celebrity Apex will cruise from Southampton from May this year through October this year, which is great. And guests will be able to take a variety of different types of cruises from 4 to 13 night sailings, including a 12-night Northern Norwegian Fjords and Arctic Circle cruise. Also, exploration across Northern Europe with sailings that take place different areas too. And also the distinctive features of the Celebrity Apex, which makes it stand apart. They've got, of course, their multi-purpose cantilevered magic carpet. It's beautiful, and it's another way for people to really eat and enjoy and drink over the sea. Also, they got the Retreat, which has a private restaurant. They've got a lounge area and a sun deck exclusive to its guests who stay in the Retreat too, and which is great. And also they've got this beautiful rooftop garden. It's fantastic. I got a chance to tour one of their ships too, christening thing, but it's great. The rooftop garden is beautiful. And also they've got their magnificent 2-story edge villas, which each with their own private terrace and also plunge pool. Also, there are 29 different distinct restaurants, bars, and lounges to explore on the Celebrity Apex. And it's really a distinct food and beverage journey too. And once again, guests can try globally inspired menus, including the Fine Cut Steakhouse, Tehran 5, also Eden, where guests can really enjoy different types of culinary desserts too, which is great too. And as mentioned, they've got a lot of different great entertainment offerings on board. They've got exclusive stage shows in the theater, and also they've got some really, really uplifting journeys of life, whatever. And they've got a cabaret show in the club, which is great. I had a chance to experience it myself too on their newest ship last year, but it's amazing what they did. So definitely keep that in mind, because once again, if you're thinking about different ways to explore Europe, the river cruise lines in Europe is wonderful, but also another option, definitely look into maybe Celebrity Apex, because she just made her debut this week and just started sailing on May 15th on her debut season from Southampton, which is great. So definitely keep that in mind too, because the Celebrity Apex is just gorgeous. As mentioned, I talked about that, which is great too, but she's got great features, different entertainment restaurants too. Something else that just came up too is, I've talked a lot about Port Canaveral. It's a great port. People are not aware of it, but it's actually one of the fastest growing ports for cruise lines to place ships at too. And also, something that just came up too this week is MSC Cruises. They're bringing a second ship in Port Canaveral. Yes, they're continuing to grow more ships in the U.S., North America, and once again, they're continuing to, Port Canaveral is continuing to grow with cruise lines using it as a home port too, which is great too. And once again, it's a beautiful place to go to too, and not as far south as maybe as Miami, Port Everglades. But once again, MSC Cruises just mentioned they're going to be basing a second ship at Port Canaveral, and what they're doing is it's going to be the MSC Grandioso will be offering 7-night Eastern and Western Caribbean sailings, and also the MSC Seashore will sail on 3 and 4 night sailings, cruises to Nassau and Ocean Cay MSC Marine Reserve, which is a private island in the Bahamas, which is gorgeous. And in the winter 2025-2026 season, it's going to be their largest presence in the United States so far, which is great to date. And expanding into their expansion at Port Canaveral, having another ship sail there too, which is great. And they actually started sailing from Port Canaveral in 2021, and I guess I really love sailing out of Port Canaveral, which is great too. And once again, it really gives people that maybe want to, or in maybe sailing from Central Florida, new options, which is great too. So as far as her Eastern Caribbean itinerary, these include, of course, Nassau in the Bahamas, also Ocean Cay MSC Marine Reserve, which is her private out island. It's gorgeous. Also Puerto Plata, which is in the Dominican Republic, San Juan, Puerto Rico, and of course Charlotte Amalia, which is in the U.S. Virgin Islands, which is great. As far as her Western Caribbean itinerary sailings, she'll include different calls, including, of course, Nassau, the Bahamas. Yes, of course, Ocean Cay MSC Marine Reserve. Also Costa Maya in Mexico, Cozumel, Mexico, and Georgetown, Cayman Islands, also Montego Bay, Jamaica, Falmouth, Jamaica, and also Belize City in Belize. And as far as the MSC Seashore, she's offering 3 and 4 night sailings. These call on Nassau and also Ocean Cay MSC Marine Reserve, and then some also offer some maybe an extra day at sea too. So once again, which is great because home porting another ship out of Port Canaveral really, I think, with the debut of their MSC Grandioso sailing out of Port Canaveral, which is great too. It just gives more options for you to think about too if you're thinking about taking a cruise. And with the MSC Grandioso, it's one of their Meraviglia class ships. She's going to be the largest ship to home port at Port Canaveral when she arrives next year. The ship is 1,094 feet long. She's 141 feet wide. She has 2,041 different staterooms, okay? And she features 10 restaurants, also including Butcher's Steakhouse. They've got the Hola Tacos Quintanilla. They've got the Calto Sushi, Kato Teppanyaki, and they've got their La Tierra Bistro. And there are 5 pools, 9 hot tubs. They got their Wild Forest Aqua Park as part of their MSC Yacht Club. It's great. And also they've got the largest Broadway-style theater, and they have their stunning carousel lounge for nightly entertainment, including also their 323 feet long Galleria Gradioso Promenade and their LED sky screen, which is great too. So just another thing to really think about doing too, because once again, having sailed on MSC Cruises a couple of times, they are really beautiful option to think about too, and they're really trying to expand their presence in North America, including the United States too, because they offer some great things too, which is great. And once again, as far as MSC Cruises, they're actually family owned by the Aponte family. The Aponte family actually, their history is great. They actually have been operating the largest container shipping company in the years for years and years and years. Then they got into launching MSC Cruises, and then they launched last year their luxury cruise line Explorer Journeys. Plus with MSC Group, they've got their MSC Foundation, which is their private foundation. And they really believe in giving back, also working in different ways to really save the ocean. And they actually have a marine lab they built at Ocean Cay MSC Marine Reserve 2. And I'll share more about that too, because what they did was they're doing a renovation on that right now. Their ships will be sailing back to Ocean Cay MSC Reserve next week on May 22nd, I believe. I think they're coming back, but I got a chance to go there for a christening of their new ship, which is gorgeous, and I just fell in love with it. It was great. And once again, with the Ocean Cay MSC Marine Reserve, it's their private island in the Bahamas, but it's dedicated to the restoration of the marine resources and also ongoing conservation of marine life too. And they've got more than 2 miles of really beautiful, pristine white sand beaches, 8 world-class beaches for guests to enjoy, a tropical paradise that lets really guests enjoy the beautiful nature and the vibrancy of the Bahamas. Also, as mentioned, Ocean Cay is actually home of the MSC Foundation's Super Coral Program, which is aiming to really restore the nearby coral reefs and contribute to ongoing conservation, which is great too. But it's just great what they're doing too. I think it's fun that they're doing wonderful things there too. People we are not aware of it, and it's beautiful. And as mentioned, over the past months, Embassy Cruises is making more enhancements, to their guests' amenities and experiences, also to support their growth too. And also what they're doing too is their enhancements, which they're doing right now, include expanded excursion centers to support water activities and also island tours, also additional food and beverage facilities, including a second food hall and also larger bars. Also, additionally, guests can really expect to have enhanced swimming areas. They've also got a new kids lagoon, along with improvements to their popular main lagoon. And once again, guests can really, really look forward to the expanded ocean house, bar, and restaurant too. So once again, it just really, really is great what they're doing there too. I'll be sharing more about that too when they do open that up too. Something else came up too. They've got a new ship coming out next year. I did get invited to the christening cruise. I'm so excited about. It'll be taking place in April next year. What they did was with their new ship, it's called the MSC World America. She'll start sailing in April of 2025, and what they're doing too is they're making a leap forward to different things too. But what they're doing too is the ship has 7 different districts, and one, of course, is their MSC Yacht Club. And people are not really familiar with this, but I had a chance to sail on the MSC Yacht Club. It was unbelievable. It was gorgeous. I got upgraded last minute. I've written about it before. What they do is a ship within the ship concept. And with the MSC Yacht Club, you have your own private area, key card access. You'll have your own private butler service. Of course, you got beautiful staterooms, which are great. Plus, you have your own private lounge and your own private pool area upstairs, one deck up. Also your own private restaurant, and also you have access to the rest of the ship. But I'll tell you what, it was fantastic to experience myself, and I felt like I was in cruise heaven. Yes. But sailing was just phenomenal. I just loved staying at the MSC Yacht Club, and they had, private butler service too, and we had our own private area to get into the ship first, which is great. Butler service. They escorted you to different places. One time I wanted to get a cappuccino, and my friend called me. They came back empty-handed, but what happened was from the One Sail Lounge, my butler brought up my 1 cup of cappuccino. Yes. But what they're doing is their newest ship coming out next year, the MSC World America, she's going to offer the largest and latest MSC Yacht Club to sail in the Caribbean, which is great. And they just announced this news too, which is great, this week. And on board, I know that with the this new ship, she's going to have 20 different bars and lounges. They got their new sports bar, and it's going to, they've got a new comedy club. They've got their gin project, and it will offer extensive choice of gins with classic cocktails. They've got their Elixir Mixology bar, Masters of the Sea, and it's a classic British pub, which has a full-scale microbrewery that makes MSC's signature beers on board, which is great. They got their coffee emporium. Also, they got their Jean-Philippe Chocolate Shop and Cafe, which offers custom chocolates, coffee, other treats. And they got more new things coming their way too. I know they've got a 11-deck high dry slide, and they'll have 6 different pools and 14 hot tubs. They've got their kids club area. They've got an expansive water park with water slides, and they got 3 different entertainment venues, which include all new live entertainment plus theater shows. And of course, their MSCI Club, which features spacious suites, a dedicated lounge and restaurant, private pool, sun deck, also 24-hour concierge services, butler services too, but just wonderful. And that's coming, of course, with their MSC World America coming out next year, and she'll be christened in April of 2025. And what's great too is as far as some highlights with the yacht club, I mentioned a little bit, but they've got an expansive sun deck, and guests have a lot of places to really relax and see outdoor views. They've got their double balcony duplex suites. I know they've got their multi-room owner suite, which is great. And they've got with the yacht club experience, it's been offering guests a world of privacy exclusivity on board select MSC cruise ships. It was introduced back in 2008, and it really lets guests enjoy a wide array of different entertainment dining options on board. Guests staying at MSC Yacht Club experience unparalleled service. Believe me, I've experienced it. It was amazing, wonderful. Also, what's fun too is guests, they have a dedicated butler service available 24/7, premium room service, private areas. Also, they've got access to the ship's entertainment venues, and it's priority access to those too. Also, they've got their thermal spa access, their high-speed internet, also premium beverage packages too. So once again, the MSC World America will arrive and debut in April of 2025, and as mentioned, she has 7 different districts, each with a different atmosphere. Once again, definitely consider maybe looking into, I think, the MSC Yacht Club. I can't wait to see the ship next year when she comes out. And of course, having experienced the MSC Yacht Club, yes, I definitely would love to experience it again too sometime too in the future. And something else too that came up too is of course we have a lot of new ships coming out this year. So many, I keep losing track of what's coming out, which is great. Because once again, cruising is a great way to really explore the world, and you've got so many different options. You know, if you want to take a river cruise in Europe, other areas too, as mentioned with AMA Waterways, they're doing some new things next year, which is great. But something else that came up too is Silversea Cruises just took delivery of their Silver Ray, which is their second ship in their innovative Nova class. Okay, and they just celebrated this on May 14th earlier this week too. But it's their newest ship, and it's really great too because once again they took delivery of the Silver Ray. It's the second ship in their innovative Nova class ships, and when they did this event on May 14th, Jason Liberty, who is the Royal Caribbean's Group President CEO, celebrated this, and also people from Meyer Group, which is one that built the ship, which is great. And once again, they are really, it's really, really luxury at sea, and they're offering some really, really wonderful things that they're doing too. As far as the Silver Ray, she joins her sister ship Silver Nova, which is one of the most energy efficient in the ultra luxury and expedition cruise ships ever built, which is great. And then she actually is going to debut on her main voyage from Lisbon on June 15th. And the Silver Ray will actually spend her inaugural season in the Mediterranean before crossing the Atlantic to Americas in December of this year, which is great. And I think it's just so much fun to see new ships coming out, and this is ultra luxury. And the Silver Ray, as mentioned, it's their second ship in their cutting-edge Nova class ships, and what's great too, they took inquiry of the ship 2 days a bit earlier, which is great. But once again, they really have immersive designs to really let guests join destinations from virtually all the venues and suites, which is great too. They've got they reimagined the pool decks. They've got an overlook water of the starboard side and new outdoor venues. They've got the desk bar and the marquee, which capture their uniqueness to this destination. And as far as the size and the space ratio, that's good to kind of share too. I know that the space to guest ratio is 75%, 75 gross registered tons per guest. So they offer one of the most personalized levels of service at sea with a crew to guest ratio of 1 to 1.3, including butler service for all suites, which is great. They've got large selection of bars, restaurants, and lounges in luxury cruising. Also, they've got something fun too. Their innovative culinary program, which is called See and Taste, and the acronym they're using is SALT, S-A-L-T, but it's their innovative culinary program too, which is great too. And which is great because right now the Silvery is completing her nautical sails first, the North Sea, and then what they'll do too is they'll be actually doing her first thing and christening, I think, in June this year. But I think that's kind of fun too because once again, it's great. And with Silversea Cruises, they're owned by Royal Caribbean, the Royal Caribbean Group. Okay, Royal Caribbean also owns Royal Caribbean International and also Celebrity Cruises, but they also own Silversea Cruises too. So it's great to see this coming on board because once again, they've got a global fleet, but different things too. So definitely keep this in mind too, because once again, very luxury, looks fantastically beautiful too. Any questions for me, Mark, at all, or not? I know I've talked a lot. We've got some other good news coming up too. When it comes to some things as far as another really kind of reviving a cruise line too, in a new way. This just came up. What happened was there's a cruise line that was around for quite a long time, American Queen Voyages. I think they actually began maybe in 2010 maybe or 9. I actually got a chance to meet their founders, whatever. They're growing like crazy. They did rebrand it in 2021 to American Queen Voyages, but they were actually bought up by Hornblower Group, and then unfortunately when things came up so bad with the pandemic, the Hornblower Group filed bankruptcy, and so last year is when American Queen Voyages went under. It was very, very sad, okay, because they've been around a long time. What they did was they actually were in the process of maybe selling those ships. They had 4 ships that were actually the regular paddle wheeler ships, plus they had also bought 2 ships from Victory Cruise Lines, and they're smaller ships. And in 2022, they brought those 2 ships in officially as part of under the American Queen Voyages, and they started doing some sailings on the Great Lakes. I had a chance to actually see one of their ships that was actually due to sail out for the first time from Navy Pier in Chicago. I was there for their lunch event before the ship sailed out, which is great too. And what happened was John Wagner, who was actually the he had also run American Queen Voyages. He actually, when those 2 ships were up for sale, the smaller ones, he actually made a bid to purchase the ships, and he did. And that just came up this week. John Wagner plans to launch Victory 1 and Victory 2, which is their original names, in spring of 2025 from the Great Lakes. And he's bringing back a veteran of different executives. These are 190 passenger vessels. They're going to be cruising the 5 lakes and sailing between Chicago and Toronto and Montreal, a round trip Chicago. And actually you see this one ship twice back in 2022, which is great. And once again, it's just so exciting. And he actually was able to snap up these 2 ships. They were actually the Ocean Voyager and Ocean Navigator when American Queen Voyage's bankruptcy auction took place, okay? But back in 2011, he actually founded what became American Queen Voyages and with the paddle wheeler. But anyway, he got an unbelievable deal on these 2 vessels, and which is great. And like I said, he wants to use the Victory name, which is great. And he just kind of mentioned there was really no reputation brain damage on this too. It's a great platform, so he's really excited. And what is really good too is he mentioned he really champions the Great Lakes because there's little cruise competition and so much things to offer too. The Victory Core is going to be 12 day itinerary between Chicago and Toronto, and she'll actually feature a coveted berth at Chicago's Navy Pier. It's beautiful. I've actually seen it several times, including when I actually saw one of their ships there too. And it's going to cruise to the historic Mackinac Island, and of course transit to the Sioux Locks, and also then Lake Superior, Detroit, and Cleveland Calls, and then of course Thousand Islands of Lake Ontario, the Niagara Falls, and then winding up in Toronto. And it will actually be touching then all 5 Great Lakes, which is great. And it's really, I think, fantastic because once again, he was so happy that they got these 2 ships, and they're putting, as he says, they're putting their band back together, which is great too, and relaunching Victory Cruise Lines, pulling back some people that worked for him before, which is great. They're very, very excited. I talked to one actually myself last week, and as far as their ships, they've got these 2 vessels. The Victory 2 was the Ocean Navigator, and also the Victory 1 was their Ocean Voyager. These vessels are being refurbished in Portland, Maine, okay? And what's great too is they're doing some renovations on it, and like I said, the vessels are in Portland, Maine right now. That's where they're going to be done too. And as far as they're launching their marketing, they really plan to launch their marketing initiatives on July 1st this year, with launching outreach to past customers, and also an invitation to John, his wife Claudette Wagoner, to the inaugural family reunion cruise. Victory One's repositioning from Portland to Toronto, which is great too, and also they will actually be also working with travel advisors themselves too. And the company also plans 31 different 10-day cruises between Chicago and Toronto. This is actually Victory Cruises' most popular route. Also, they will have 3 12-day Chicago-Montreal cruises and 2 12-day Chicago round trips that explore Lake Michigan and also go far into Lake Superior. And then, of course, during 2025, Victory 1 is going to be operating her 197-day season, and the Victory 2 will be in service for 153 days, which is great too. And what's great is John Wagner mentioned when he was interviewed that he really wants people to feel like they're coming home. And pricing will be inclusive with a pre-cruise hotel stay, hop-on, hop-out excursions, and also Wi-Fi included. And the same menus, wine, and onboard style program are still planned. And he mentioned, I want to make sure people feel like they're coming home, which is really, really great. Also, they plan to really launch U.S. trade shows in September, and also just outreaches too, which is great too. And he's also pulling in some people that worked from before too, which is great. So I think this is really, really great because once again, it's just so exciting for him to see, actually be able to acquire these 2 ships, which is great. I had a chance to actually see one of these 2 ships myself in Chicago back in 2022, and wasn't sailing on it, but I got to see it before the ship was sailing out. It was a great experience too, because the ship was beautiful, the staff was just phenomenal. We're on board for lunch, which is great, but just a great way to really think about seeing the Great Lakes in different ways too, because you don't really see that. So this is just, I think, very, very, very exciting too. And something else I want to share too is, I've talked about godmothers, okay? The godmother is actually the person, or godfather. We've had some cruise lines that have godfathers too. What they do is the godparents, so to speak, is ones that christen the ship too. And as mentioned, I know that we've had godfathers, godmothers, which is great, but that's a big ceremony where they actually christen, name the ship. It's a tradition in the cruise industry. It's been going on for years and years and years and years. But what they did was, something that just came up this week too was, we've got Margaritaville at sea, and they've been on for a bit, but what happened was Jimmy Buffett, who was a famed singer, lifestyle guru, actually passed away, unfortunately, September 23. But this resort and also and cruise line brand, Margaritaville at Sea, has renamed their Savannah, has named Savannah Buffet. She's the daughter of the late singer, songwriter, best-selling sailor. Is actually going to be the godmother of their new ship, Margaritaville at Sea Islander, which is great. She'll actually be debuting this June, and the inaugural sailing is going to take place on June 14th on a 4-night itinerary from Tampa Bay, and with a stop at Cozumel, Mexico, and 2 other sea days too, which is great. So it's good. They've got the daughter of Jimmy Buffett serving as the godmother of this new ship, the Margaritaville at Sea and Islander is their new ship. They actually purchased the ship from it was a former Costa ship, the Costa Atlantica, but it's going to be debuting this June, next month, and their first sailing is going to be taking place. The inaugural sailing is taking place on June 14th, and a before-night itinerary, sailing from Tampa Bay, as mentioned, also stop in Cozumel and Mexico, and also 2 other sea days too, which is great. So what was really, really nice too, Savannah Buffett mentioned she's really excited to be the named godmother of the Margaritaville at Sea Islander, and looks forward to really rendering the right connection of love and luck, and offer smooth, untroubled sailings, and just really, really fun too. So one thing too is just really great for them to actually choose her to be their godmother of their new ship coming out this June, Margaritaville at Sea Islander. It's a great fit. I love sharing stories too about christenings of new ships, and they decide to select godfathers or godmothers. We've had a lot of godfathers actually christening new ships too, besides godmothers, but we wait women that are godmothers too to christen the ships too. Something else that came up too, I mentioned more about what Norwegian Cruise Line was doing last week, because what they do is they recognize teachers in different ways, and they're doing this for the 5th year. I mentioned more about last week, but you can nominate a teacher, and then they have awards, which is great. So definitely keep that in mind too, because they've been doing this now for the 5th year, which is great. But something else that just came out this week too is Norwegian Cruise Line is actually doing their Walk for Wellness. It's their first United Kingdom health and wellness walking initiative, and what they did was they have raised, I don't know European currency, but they mentioned over 15,000 for charities, but it's in European currency too. And this is for donating to charities, including the ABTA Lifeline and the ITAA Benevolent Fund too. And what they did was this fundraising milestone too, which is great. They just did it, and they plan to continue this on, which is great. And originally it was estimated they'd have 750 agents sign up for the month-long campaign. And what they did was they hosted a 60-person team walk around Southampton's parks, and Gary Ansel, who was Norwegian Cruise Line's Vice President, UK and Ireland, mentioned, "We are delighted by the overwhelming response to the Walk for Wellness campaign. We're thrilled that they've achieved what we were setting out to do, get everyone walking, increasing awareness of the importance of the link between mental health and fitness, and raise money for 2 different charities, which are definitely benefiting from those working in our beloved travel industry too." And it's great because, once again, they're not stopping, and this is the first time they've done it. And he mentioned they've reached their ultimate goal, but once again, they're still going to be doing different things too. I know he mentioned we've added 4 extra cruises on Norwegian Aqua as prizes, as well as NCL merchandise and well-being vouchers too. And this just came up, of course, this week, which is great. So once again, it's a good way to kind of share ways that cruise lines do give back in different ways, as far as donating different things, rescuing people, which I've mentioned before. Also, with the cruise industry overall, they are really working on getting to net zero emissions, and the new ships coming out are reaching that right now. Other cruise lines are doing that too. But the goal in the cruise industry per se is to have all ships being net zero emissions by 2050. But I can guarantee right now that cruise industry is going to meet that before 2050. Definitely. Mark, any questions for me or not? So I've covered a lot so far. So it's good to share good things too. But just, new ships coming out and experiences, expanding in different ways. It's good to see Alaska season starting, of course, too, and new ships coming out, of course, and also I think it's great too with the two cruise lines being able to now start sailing in the next month, I think, from, of course, the area they had the issues with the bridge that fell down too. So that's really great too. The Baltimore cruises too will start sailing this month. So a lot of good news out there this week. I'll share more next week. And also, as mentioned, we've talked about the Summer Olympics coming up in July in Paris. But once again, we're seeing cruise lines that maybe are altering their cruise ship sailing itineraries to avoid that, just because it's going to be really, really packed. But they can move the ships around, which is great too. And that's good because once again, you've got different sailing starting. Also, being able to resume the Baltimore cruises end of this month, which is great. Royal Caribbean and Carnival, which is fantastic. And the renovations that they're doing with MSC Cruises as far as their private out island, Ocean Cay MSC Marine Reserve, also with the growth taking place with cruise ships sailing out of Port Canaveral, as mentioned. MSC Cruises is actually basing a second ship in Port Canaveral. And what they're doing is that's going to be their second ship, okay, which is great. And it gives, I guess, a wider range of different options too. Okay, because once again, Port Canaveral is a beautiful area. I've sailed there myself a couple of times, and it's about an hour, hour and a half from Orlando, but a great way to see different places too. And the seashore is sailing 3 and 4 night sailings, and also they've got their MSC Grandioso, and she's going to be debuting out of Port Canaveral too, which is great. So that's going to be coming up in December 2025. So it'll be a little over a year away, but also right now their MSC Seashore does sail out of Port Canaveral. Any questions for me, Mark, or not? So I think I've covered a lot right now. We can end the show whenever you want to, but once again, it's great to kind of share good stories, the updated news, and exciting things going on in the cruise industry too, which is great. Because once again, as I tell people, good ship happens, yes. What I'm really, really thrilled about too myself is when I found out that John Wagner is reviving Victory Cruise Lines. He just put a bid and got those 2 ships, and he's going to start sailing those ships. It'll be under Victory Cruise Lines, the Victory 1, Victory 2, and they're going to be start sailing in the spring of 2025. Great Lakes, which is great. And they're small ships, 190 passenger, and they will cruise the 5 different lakes with sailing between Chicago and Toronto, Montreal. Also, some actually do a round trip from Chicago, Navy Pier, and then sailing out to different areas too, and then coming back that way too. But just another great option to think about too, because once again, it's just, some things to do too, which is great. And it's good for John to mention that he's putting his band back together. He actually has been hiring other people that had worked with him before with American Voyage to come back and help him launch with Victory Cruise Lines. So that's really exciting too. I just had a really, really great conversation with one of them. He's part of their marine operations. We just talked last week. He's very excited too, which is great. So once again, I think it's just great because once again, it's just fantastic to think about this too, because once again, he really wants to make sure that people feel like they are coming back home too, which is great. And right now, those 2 ships are going through refurbishing in Portland, Maine. And the cruises, right now, it looks like they're going to start sailing itineraries and sailings, but once again, just another option to think about too. And when I had a chance to be on one of those ships for a luncheon twice during 2022, in the spring when they first launched and also in the fall, it was just a beautiful experience. Seriously, I was very, very excited to be on board their ship for a special luncheon and dedication too, which is great. So definitely keep that in mind too. If you're thinking about maybe trying something a little bit different, or want to see the Great Lakes, is one option too. Is they actually go up to Niagara Falls, which is great too. So definitely, which is great too. Okay, and we can actually end my show now. And of course, Virgin Voyages has their new show coming out too. We can end with that video right now too, because they do phenomenal things too. So thanks so much for joining me today on Good Ship Happens. And
Mama, Papa, was your suitcase packed but not mine? How could you leave us kids behind? Parents are going on a cruise without us kids, and we know whose fault this is. Virgin Voyages says we can't cruise till we're 18, which makes us shake like we had caffeine. Virgin Voyages says no kids on the ocean, so we're causing a commotion. You'll be sipping cocktails under a starlit night while we're back home without an invite. Sure, you've earned a gourmet spread, but we're experiencing existential dread. Adults, enjoy the cruise. We know you deserve it, but the fact we can't go is total bull.
I'm Dr. Sylvia Earle, a marine biologist, oceanographer, explorer, and I'm passionate about the protection of this blue planet. I grew up next to the ocean in the Gulf of Mexico, and I've witnessed how much the ocean has changed and how marine life has been endangered. But I know there is still time to help the ocean, which is why I was drawn to the Aponte family's sustainability mission. Explorer Journeys has a genuine ambition to connect people with the wonders of the sea, its marine life, its communities, spiritually, physically, and intellectually. We share the same values and have the same objectives to deepen people's relationship with the ocean, to explore, protect, and restore. Explorer Journeys calls it the ocean state of mind, a sensibility that will ensure the protection of this precious blue planet. Through my foundation, Mission Blue, we're working on ocean conservation, inspiring hope with champions across the world. Beginning with my extraordinary role as godmother to Explorer One, we will be heralding a meaningful collaboration between myself, Mission Blue, and Explorer Journeys and the MSC Foundation towards preserving and restoring the world's oceans, the blue heart of the planet.